Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Inside Story podcast, where we take you behind the scenes of building diverse businesses and becoming a successful entrepreneur. I'm your host, Dursun Halimova. I'm a business coach and facilitator on a mission to help build impactful businesses. And today we are taking a sneak peek at Fab's Wines. It is a Luxembourg-based startup working in the wine industry. And my guest today is Fabienne Stanitz, who is the founder and CEO of Fab's Wines. She and her team are on a mission to simplify wine selection. You could call her a wine matchmaker because from what I know, she is passionate about helping people like you and I really make good choices when it comes to wine and find wine that is a perfect fit for us. So welcome, Fabienne, to the Inside Story podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great, thank you. So to start off, I would read unfinished sentences and I'll ask you to finish them for us, please. Being an entrepreneur means
Hard work,
building an impactful business requires
discipline,
failure is
learning lesson.
success is a result of
That is a tough one. I think one word. I have to think. 1 second. I already said hard work. Maybe persistency.
Yeah, that's a good one. Persistency. Yeah. And the last one, being fulfilled in life means.
Live your life happy.
And sipping glass of wine. Great. Thank you so much, Fabienne. So I know a little bit about you. I had the pleasure of meeting you at Startup Apéro event here in Luxembourg. And also a second time I met you at Women Power event, which was dedicated to celebrate women on International Women's Day, 8th of March. And in both places, I had chance to get to know a bit about you and also Fab's Wines. And I had the chance to taste one of the local wines from Luxembourg that you brought to our attention. And from that, two kind of short interactions with you, I got a sense that you grew up in an entrepreneurial family and you had over 12 years of experience in the hospitality industry. So in a way, I'm not surprised you started your own business in the wine industry. But tell us a little about Fab's Wines. How did you start it? Where did the idea come from? And why did you start it in the first place?
I mean, exactly what you said. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, and for me, it was clear at one point I want to start my own company. And I didn't know exactly what was my passion all about. So I traveled the entire world. I did different jobs. And I was always in the hospitality industry. And I loved fine dining, luxury travels, adventure travels, or any kind of restaurant visits. It always fascinated me. And obviously, I loved wine, drinking wine. And I saw myself a lot in wine regions, like in Bordeaux or Champagne or even Argentina, Mendoza. I always wanted to visit when I'm traveling somewhere, the wine regions. And then it was during the pandemic and I quit my past job and I was ready to start something on my own. And I had no idea really what I want to start. So I thought about what I'm passionate about, and I got back that I'm really passionate about hospitality industry. But always I wanted to solve a problem, but at the same time solving a problem, what I actually have myself as a problem, and in an industry what I'm passionate about. Because I believe with great success, there's a lot of passion involved. I saw that when I'm going to a restaurant or a supermarket, I'm always struggling finding the right wine. Because since I was traveling a lot with my family or friends, in every country, supermarket, everywhere, the wine is completely different and you don't even know what to get. And I tried several applications or several Google research when you're in a supermarket to get the perfect wine. And it often happened to me that I'm quite picky within the flavor and the taste of wine. So I really didn't like my choices that much. And I was always kind of frustrated because the bottle looked nice, the wine color looked nice, it was a good region, but it did not. So I was like, okay, that's stress of going in a supermarket or a restaurant, choosing a bottle of wine for yourself, for your friends, or even for an entire dinner table, which is in a restaurant not as cheap, should be simplified and go back directly to the roots of flavors and happiness of choosing the right wine. So I did some research and I wanted to solve that problem for us users to find the right wine within seconds. So you're never afraid of choosing the wrong bottle anymore.
Amazing. So tell me then what happens as far as I know, you are working on a mobile application. And so let's say I go on the mobile app, I have no idea what wine to choose. What do I do?
So basically, you create your own taste profile on our platform. It's gamified, and we analyze based on your taste flavors, which is the right wine for you. We have some augmented reality parts in it and also some AI, but that is more of the fun way of exploring food and wine tastings or pairings, for example, what you're eating, which wine fits. For example, when you brush your teeth in the morning with toothpaste and you eat pineapple afterwards, it's not so good.
I didn't know that.
I mean, try it. You're like, no, that doesn't go together. And I think it's basically the same with wine. If you have several food or flavors within your food and you drink the wrong wine with it, even the wine you really like, it might just seem off to you because of your taste flavors, and vice versa. You might pair a wine which you don't like drinking alone with some food, and this is actually quite nice for you and you enjoy it. And I think that is something we have to educate ourselves more about and create some more awareness. That is another part. How you can show us your food. Basically, we tell you which wine to pair with it.
That's great, because selecting wine is a whole one science, but then pairing it with the food is totally kind of another game, which is great that you are trying to help us, make it simple and easy. I appreciate that. And just to touch upon, so we've briefly talked before this call, and as far as I know, you are part of the Fit for Start program at the moment with this specific business idea. I mean, it's actually more than business idea. From what I know, you already have paying clients, right? And Fab's Wine is 1 year old. You recently celebrated your 1 year anniversary. Well done. And maybe if you don't mind briefly sharing, how is it with Fit for Start program? It is a startup incubation acceleration program that is established, I think, in cooperation with the Luxembourgish government. And you also won a prestigious award. You were first runner-up for Creative Young Entrepreneurs Luxembourg Award, which is amazing. And you basically were, in 70-year-long history of Luxembourg, the youngest startup to ever win this award. So well done. Kudos to you. So help us then learn a bit more about how has been your journey with the program. How does the program help you as a startup to develop and take your business to the next level?
I mean, especially as a first-time founder, I guess it's pretty much you got thrown in cold water and you don't know a lot of things. Like I have some team members and they're like, well, I'm not so great in sales and I have to learn more about it. I was like, okay, then we learn it together, because
Amazing.
I mean, there are so many parts being an entrepreneur, being a founder, even CEO in a really young age, you have not known about. So I think, for example, especially the legal aspects and different kind of parts, legal contracts and all of that. I mean, that's really hard if you haven't studied it or you have read the 5,000 contracts. It's not as easy. And Fit for Start, it's guiding you through the entire startup process and makes sure that you're not falling into those traps or make those mistakes a lot of young entrepreneurs actually do. And you always have to step up your game and to be better as before and to show progress, to innovate, to maybe sometimes pivot a little bit in the right direction to make sure that you have actually a product market fit of your platform. And it teaches you all aspects around entrepreneurship and how to build a successful and structured organization. It's not easy, definitely not. It's challenging because you have to always relearn, educate yourself about new subjects. there are a lot of matters. Not everybody knows everything, and you have your parts within your company you're really good at. But then there are other departments or other subjects you're less good at, or you have less education. So you have to read yourself into it. There's a lot of research involved. It's a lot of learning, and it's amazing because you get the guidance from the Luxembourgish government and economic leaders, and they shape and help shape your business in the right direction. So
Amazing. Yeah.
it's
So
an
I
amazing
think
initiative.
exactly. Yeah. In the beginning, especially when you are just building a company, it is incredible to have the business know-how and financial assistance from programs like this. And I think this is one thing that maybe also is good about Luxembourg, and it attracts a lot of international startups as well. I'm happy you are enjoying the experience and companies developing as part of the program. So we've learned a bit about the company. Take us back to where did it start? How did your professional journey evolve? How did you end up where you are now today?
Well, for me, it was always clear that I want to start my own business because I wanted to step in the footsteps of my father, actually, who took me along his entrepreneurial journey since I was a little child. And he never closed his door or his mindset in front of me. And he showed me also in a really young age how hard it can be to have a company with all the risks involved, but also mentally, it's not easy to cope with a lot of different roller coasters, I would say, and to have a lot of responsibilities, but not only for yourself, for your company, but also for all the employees working for your company. For example, there is a lot of responsibilities involved. And he taught me or showed me everything around it from since I was a really young girl. And that made me clear that one day I want to step in the footsteps of my father. However, not joining the family business, but creating something on my own. Because for me, I wanted to solve a problem, but also helping other businesses to improve and to be better instead of making me shine or be the biggest company. No, I'd rather help other companies to grow, to be more efficient, to increase their sales, reduce their waste, and actually make it possible that other family businesses can grow and have a more organizational structure. And that is why we're creating an emotional bridge between consumers and winemakers, actually. And our goal in Fabs Wines is to help winemakers find their right customers and to increase their chances of sales or increase their chances of entering new markets where they really validate their products and they really enjoy what they have been creating over generations. And my goal always was to help or to make life more easy and more efficient. And my entire life, I leaned already to that point that I want to start my own company. So I studied international management. I took on several jobs from corporates to startups, from finance interns to headhunting companies to big corporates. I got myself into Christian Dior, for example, in the Middle East. And then I was headhunted to become head of marketing and sales from an international coffee shop franchise. I was really young. I was only 24 at that time. And I think it is important to have the diversity. And as you hear from most entrepreneurs, they get pretty much and pretty fast bored. Because the moment when you're doing something and you don't see any more learning curve to go back more up, you're fast getting bored, you want to do something new. And I think I can talk about myself. I never wanted to climb that corporate ladder and always do the same. I wanted to get as much input and as much diversity of jobs as possible to be able to start my own company at one point. And then during COVID, I quit my past job and I exited the company and I was ready to start my own. And now that's where here I am. It's not easy, definitely not. But I think that was a step where it's like, there's nothing that can teach me anything anymore. It's time that I start on my own and learn while doing.
Yeah, no, that's so important. And I want to now kind of connect our conversation to the recent interview you gave to Paper Jam, where you briefly talked about some of the challenges you experienced. And to be more precise, you mentioned being a young female entrepreneur, which often was equated with lack of knowledge or experience. And you were suggested to invite more experienced founders due to your age, which is unfortunate because oftentimes I think a lot of entrepreneurs are young people passionate about their skill, and they want to pursue their goals and solve problems. And it is a bit frustrating to be faced with this reality. So how did you deal with the situation? And do you think you are over this gender and age-based stereotypes? Do you think you have proven yourself as a young female entrepreneur to people who doubt your abilities?
Honestly, it's not easy. And I think a lot of young entrepreneurs, female or even male, go through that, where people smile at you and they listen, but they're like, let's see. And definitely, we're not over that stage yet. I can see it still from different economical systems, and a lot of people want to see the platform officially launched in a mobile store. And then you always have a lot of people who are always saying negative things. But I think what is the most important thing is execution. So whatever people say or how people make you feel, just do it. I just encountered that with my past event last week, which I had with Off Ventures. More than 17 people actually canceled last minute.
Oh my
So
God.
we were supposed to be 25. I wanted to keep it a very, very small circle of very high hospitality leaders, entrepreneurs, innovators, and investors. And they flew in from all around the world. It was not just a country or local event. I brought the people in from around the world, and I got their tickets from the States, from Asia, from Finland. And then 10 days to, even on the same day, I heard the most ridiculous excuses. And actually more than 17 people canceled. And I was like, actually hesitating. When you go back, you ask me one thing also about anxiety of an entrepreneur. And yes, of course, I always have that. And especially starting, you don't know, you're creating something that doesn't exist. You have no idea how people perceive that. And that lead me to Off Ventures, for example, the event of Pissed. I wanted to actually cancel. So I was like, so many people canceled. And then I was just before canceling and sending out to those people that I'm so sorry, but it's not happening. And then something packed me, and I was like, no, stop. Go through with it, whatever, execute. They're always doing that also with Fabstwines. Just do it. And even if you're only 5 people, we're going to have such a great time being 5 people. Then it's the first event, and then it can just grow. If you never try something, or if you never execute, and it always stands in your mind, then it's okay. Should have done it? Should I not? And whatsoever. But if you have done it, either it succeeds, amazing. It was good that I did it. Or it fails, and then you're like, well, I tried, and I know it failed, and I have to do it better next time. But if you never try something, you never execute anything, you never know what would be the outcome. And I think that is something which you should avoid, is like canceling things or keeping an idea and an idea. Just do it and execute it, and then you will learn from it, you will grow from it. And even doing something, you're always a step ahead of everyone else, keeping their ideas an idea. I think that is super important. And honestly, that's also what I've done with Fabstwines entirely. I've just go for it, execute, and let's see what happens.
I think that's the important aspect of entrepreneurship. To me, it is kind of having this experimental, playful attitude, because as you say, things gonna get hard. It will be difficult. There will be a lot of naysayers, right? A lot of challenges and obstacles. I think it is important to give you the space and the freedom to say, you know what, I'm gonna try, and I'll see how it goes. But at least from my end, I'll do my best. I can relate. For a few years, I used to deliver workshops and trainings, facilitate events, and every time, I would go to deliver it, I would tell myself, Dursun, even if one person shows up, I will do as I planned. I will deliver the workshop to my best, and it doesn't matter if one person or 10 people show up. And that was really instrumental because, yes, I can relate. You can feel offended in a way, right? You can take this personal, like, oh, people are rejecting me. And I think it's important to kind of differentiate that and not to give yourself such a hard time. And yeah, so it's amazing. I'm glad that the event went well. And yeah, maybe just to let our listeners know, because we did talk about this briefly. So you are also a founding member of Off Ventures, which is a nonprofit initiative focused on hospitality industry, if I understand correctly. And the focus there, correct me if I'm wrong, is to help talent find sustainable jobs within the hospitality, right?
Not only, actually, it's an initiative where you go from startups, companies, to hotels, to hotel owners, family offices, to build an ecosystem of giving, because the hospitality industry is giving something to your guests. And I think that is all about hospitality. And the industry is the third biggest industry in the world, and we see it everywhere. And I believe that we should create, or that is what Off Ventures is, creating a community, even with my startup Fabs Wines, which, I mean, wine is also part of the hospitality industry. It's super important for restaurants. So the initiative is building a community where everybody gives something. For example, hotel owners, restaurants, chefs, investors, startups, solutions, innovators. We're building that community, everybody gives something. And if somebody needs something, for example, me with Fabs Wines as a really young startup, or one of my friends, she is currently looking to build up a hotel brand. So she's looking for hotels to buy. And in the end, it was like that we connected those 11 people who were there in Switzerland. So they started already communicating, and everybody was giving something. So one of the other attendees was like, I have a contact who is doing real estate for hotels. And she was like, oh, that's amazing, because I look for hotels at the moment. So they are connecting already, and everybody gives their expertise. But in the end, their ventures formed, or businesses closed, or deals closed. For example, one of my friends, he is a chef, and he was like, wow, the Luxembourgish wine is amazing. Let me try some. Maybe we can order some for the restaurants, or maybe we can get your Fabs Wines platform into our restaurant. And this is something, everybody gives something, and then they can take whatever they need. And I think that is super important, especially when we're in the hospitality industry, where it's all about giving and making guests happy. So not only give it to the guests, but give it to ourselves. So that is why I founded Off Ventures, where it can help anyone being part of the community to give something back, but to get whatever they need at the current time.
That's incredible. I think there is a room and need for this kind of platform and network where like-minded people doing similar things or with similar goals can connect and share. I think there's a lot of power in helping each other grow. And I think in entrepreneurship, maybe one of the misconceptions I had to kind of realize for myself is that entrepreneurship is a solo journey, right? And rarely it is. So I think there is a power in giving and sharing, because that generosity can come back and help you.
I mean, I think that is a little bit controversial, because there are so many mentors and coaches. They all say, when you're an entrepreneur, you're alone. You run a marathon alone. Yes, I agree on one hand, but I guess you're only as alone as you make yourself. Because I think before, entrepreneurship or business is very competitive. So people trying to be better than other people, and they're so afraid of someone is taking or stealing their idea or whatsoever. Instead, I guess, which is much more powerful, and I think that is really interesting in our generation right now of, let's say, millennial founders, we really support each other, and that is something which I think is really great, and that makes you, yes, you are running a marathon alone within your company, but only to that extent as you want to be. Because I think the moment you share and you're open, and also open to other entrepreneurs, even other businesses, you can help each other. And I think that is founding a group, or even mental stability, when you can actually share what's going on. And I think it's not that much of a solo journey that everybody is talking about. It's only as lonely as you make it yourself, I guess. And I mean, I've learned that myself. I also thought like, oh wow, I'm all alone in this. And even, you know, it's very controversial where you see, okay, what is an entrepreneur? You have to be emotional, but not too emotional, because when you're too emotional, you're that heartless boss. When you're not emotional at all. When you're too emotional, you're so emotional that they don't know if you can lead a company or lead a team to success. You have to be tough, but not too tough. You have to listen to the employees to lead them in the right direction. But at the moment, you also have to manage them to be strict and to follow the rules, you know? So
Yeah.
I think it's when you see those TikToks, like what is a woman or what is a man, how they look like, I think it's the same with an entrepreneur. It's, you have to just find the right middle and surround yourself with the right team and also with the right members in the ecosystem. Same with friends. You know, if you have friends in your circle which are toxic, it makes you unhappy. If you have people in your company, stakeholders, they are toxic, or you have bad partnerships, then you have a bad influence on your company. And I think that's the same with entrepreneurship. You're only as lonely as you make yourself. And the moment you open up and the moment you are honest to yourself and also to your surroundings, I think it's not that lonely anymore.
I totally agree, because I think in my mind, also being as a coach, what I encounter often is that a lot of the challenges are actually internal versus external, oftentimes for any person, but especially for entrepreneurs, because I think we overthink, we make small challenges seem very big, and yeah, oftentimes it's basically in our head that we imagine that the difficulties that are not there, or it requires a kind of shift in the perspective to realize that these are actually not challenges but rather opportunities, maybe.
Exactly. And
And
yeah,
Mhm.
as an entrepreneur, you are all the time challenging yourself. And I think the biggest challenge or the biggest stone in front of you is your own mind and yourself, because you want to achieve things which nobody has done before. And you're an innovator and you create something and you are building something from where there was nothing before. So definitely it's not easy. And I think you're the hardest person on yourself rather than other people watching you.
Yeah.
And I have the exactly same thing also with myself. But I mean, it's all a learning experience and you have to cope with it. And yeah.
Indeed. Staying on this topic for a bit, if you don't mind sharing, maybe during your entrepreneurial journey, was there any moment where you questioned yourself, your abilities, or whether what you were pursuing was actually worth it?
Honestly, if it's worth it or not, I never questioned,
Mm-hmm.
because I always know the moment you give or everything towards it, you only lose or you only fail the moment you quit. So that is for me a no-go. Like, I also didn't give myself a time, like, well, in 10 months, if I don't have X return, I do something else. No, because I believe it takes time. Questioning myself and questioning what I'm doing, I guess all the time. Because I don't know myself sometimes what I'm doing, to be completely honest. I just do, and while I execute, I have new different creative ideas to lead it in the right direction. And also to listening to the audience and to people around you, not always follow what they say, but to take the best advice which is for you and for your own company good. So definitely questioning what I'm doing probably every single day. I don't know if there's anyone not doing that, but yeah, worthiness not at all, because I know any hard work you put into anything, as long as you pursue it and you work on it, it's never not worth.
Yeah. And so what would you say then, self-doubt, uncertainty, fear, to an extent, I think part of an entrepreneurial journey? How do you find peace, and how do you make sure you stay on track, you stick with your vision despite all the difficulties, despite the fear, the discomfort? So what is it that helps Fabienne stay on top of things and pursue her vision?
I think definitely discipline, but also having free time. Because what I've learned is when I'm taking too much time on one subject and I'm not taking a day off or be with my family or friends or do something nothing related to work, it's really hard to stay focused for a long period of time. And discipline to the fact you can't be every day motivated. It's not possible. And you need to have the discipline to go through with it. I was a professional gymnast, for example, and I lost I didn't do any sports anymore. And I wouldn't say I got depressed, but I got really unmotivated in everything what I was doing. And I didn't have that motivation anymore to go outside. And I learned for myself that I need to do sports to keep my mind free, to not suck it up. Like, I really need to work out. And so I started having a really scheduled daily routine again, where I wake up in the morning early. I have my scheduled routine in the morning, and I try also to do it during travels. Obviously, it doesn't work all the time as good, but definitely having a workout routine in the morning, doing some yoga, mindfulness to your inner peace, and reflecting, but also doing all the bad things, not bad things, but I think having all the tasks you push and they're taking you a little bit of motivation to do it, directly do it in the morning so it's done. And that brings you way further. And I think the routine is and the discipline to do it is what keeps me running. And then the moment you have all the not so nice tasks done and you got the routine in the morning, you have a way better motivation during the afternoon or during the day.
Couldn't agree more. I think the discipline is the secret to freedom. A lot of people look at discipline as, oh my God, this is like strict. I have to follow rigid schedule. But for me, I love a routine and I love certain form of discipline because then you can have actually more free time. And I couldn't agree more on the importance of taking time for yourself. I was thinking about this recently because I was listening to another podcast where they were talking about the importance of working hard and giving it all, especially in the early days of building your own business, and how much hard you have to work and sacrifice your personal life and forget about life, basically. And I don't know, it is very difficult. Maybe also, I don't know if it's me or it's also because I am getting older and things are changing, priorities are changing. In my earlier years of my career, I was really a workaholic and pushing a lot, achieving one thing after another. But at this point in my life where, I don't know, I don't want to work extremely hard. I'm not undermining the importance of hard work, but, I think it's important to have the somewhat of a balance where, yes, you pursue your passion, you build your business, but you also, meanwhile, live life, right?
Definitely. And since I've had significant loss in my family, especially through my father or my little brother, I've lost two.
I'm so
For me,
sorry.
it's really important to not lose myself because you never know how long your life's there. And yes, that is why what I said is important to do something you're passionate about, because I like the word work smart, not hard. Because sitting 8 or 12 hours in front of a computer writing something down, which you actually can do in 2 hours with some help, or even using ChatGPT in some cases, which saves you a lot of time, but you're as efficient as possible. Plus, your day has only X amount of energy where you can give into something, concentration, into a project. So I believe there are also certain other ways how you can form a successful business. For example, if you're a really creative person, you like social media or whatsoever. That's why I'm taking also the time to work a lot from vineyards, from our partners. So I'm scheduling 2 to 3 hours a day, or even sometimes, you never know what happens, sometimes more, where I'm constantly on the laptop and I do all the hard work on the laptop. But on the other hand, for example, during the weekends, I want to spend some time with my family, but then I really love hosting events or attending events. So I'm visiting other events, winemakers, take my family with me, have a great time, but at the same time I'm doing business because I'm implementing my platform throughout those events and I'm testing it. So I think there are always ways to integrate your work in your life, and I think that as also an entrepreneur, because your work at one point becomes your life, but it also should make you happy, and you should not close yourself away from everything and disappear from your family and from your friends, because I think that's controversial. I think you can have way more success working with other people together doing something great for yourself, for your mind, for your family, while growing a business. And that is more efficient than closing yourself up and being so ambitious and so determined to achieve something, when I think success is a way of also you give something back to the society and you grow your business along the way. And I think that is way more sustainable also for your own mental health and for your company than growing something super fast out of the blue and then it also disappears again as fast as it came. So
yeah, no, couldn't agree more. I think it's important to be, in the game for the long term, to make sure you have the energy and the mental, physical health to continue, because life is beautiful and there's so much you can build, right?
exactly.
Yeah. We will slowly start wrapping up our conversation. Tell us about your biggest accomplishment so far, or what do you feel most proud of?
I guess the team.
Yeah.
That I was able to create such an amazing team around me who believe in my philosophy, my vision, but also that dream or my goal actually, because I do not like to call it a dream because dreams stay dreams and goals are achievable. So my goal of helping winemakers make them more successful, increase their sales and talk about their passion and their heritage about the brands and consumers, that became their vision too, and that they do everything possible to make that happening, and that we are such an open-minded team where we became a family, and that we are so dedicated towards making our vision come true. And I think that is the most what I'm proud of, because as we talked before, your entrepreneur journey is only as lonely as you make it yourself. And I'm a team player and I always enjoyed working in a great team. So I think that's the most what I'm proud of.
Amazing. And I think you have a team of 6 people?
Yeah.
Incredible. I think that's one of the maybe the hardest things to do is finding the right people who share the vision and passion and who are as committed as you are into making that vision come true. So well done with building the right team. And maybe one last thing, wrap up our conversation. I am hoping there are a lot of entrepreneurs listening, as well as aspiring entrepreneurs who might want to follow your footsteps. And so what would your advice would be to aspiring entrepreneur? What do you want them to take away from this conversation?
That they shouldn't be afraid and just do it. Just try and do, and don't let fear take over, and just execute.
Yes. Going back to the idea of making it playful or looking at it as an experiment, just see if it works. If not, then shift the course, change the direction. Yeah, I think it's so well said. Well, Fabienne, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to get to know you, also hear the story of Fabst Wines. I cannot wait to attend one of the upcoming events and also check out the platform, which, by the way, may be worth mentioning. Your company works with consumers, but as well as with businesses, helping restaurants handpick basically the right wines for their customers, which is great. I think it's amazing what you are doing, helping, first of all, wine lovers like myself, helping me educate myself in terms of where my favorite wine comes from and what is the story behind the winemaker. It's incredible, as well as helping the local small scale wine producers to access and have direct relationship with their customers. I think it's incredible. So kudos, well done to you and to your team. Can't wait to hear more about the stories to come. Anything else that you wanted to mention and we didn't manage to touch upon?
Well, the only thing, this summer our platform will be available at the wineries in the Mosel Valley, at the Mosel Valley from Luxembourgish side. So there are a lot of wine events. So it would be great if you come pass by. There's a lot happening. And if the people want to be aware of which events are happening, they can check that out on our social media, on Instagram or LinkedIn, Pubs Wines. And we are showcasing a lot of wine events. And yeah, we're available our platform in the vineyards from the summer.
Perfect. Looking forward to learning more about Luxembourgish wines, but not only, right? Because you have a goal to also make it global, which is great. Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Fabienne. I really appreciate it. And yeah, make us happy with wine. sipping glass of wine at a time.
Thank you so much. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye bye. Bye bye, everyone.